Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Ty Brown Show. Tell me this, have you ever found yourself not communicating well with someone you're really close to, like a best friend or a spouse or a parent or child? Oftentimes, we reserve our very worst communication skills for those we love most, which gives us lots of good fodder for real-life experiences to share on the show. This week, we're going to be talking about a couple, Josh and Vanessa Harrop. They're going to join us on the show, and we're going to dive into an instance where they saw something differently and they disagreed about it, but it took a little while before they found the groove and were able to talk it out and get on the same page without those feelings of frustration, those feelings of why can't you understand why I'm feeling the way I am, those kinds of things. So we can all relate. This will be a very relatable story to all of you, and I'm hoping that you can take it into your relationships with those that you're close to and learn from it and stop hitting yourself by making these communications a little bit better for everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to go, and it's going down in 3, 2, and 1.
Podcasting from Conciliators, this is the Ty Brown Show. If you're a human and you think you might have to interact with other humans at some point, and you'd like that to go well, then listen up.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to get cozy with conflict. Let's go.
All right, everybody. We are going to jump on a recording now with our guests. We're going to dive into real life disagreement and analyze it and learn from it. Now, these two are listeners of the show. I had not met them at all before starting this show, but they were kind enough to come on and share their experience. And I'm hoping that actually we can get a lot more of this happening week to week. So if you have any interest in being on the show and sharing your experience, reach out to me, text me, or leave the Ty Brown Show a message on Facebook, or email stories@thetybrownshow.com, and we'll get you on here. I'm hoping that this can be just like a very real, like very relatable exchange of stories and experiences, and then we can talk about what went well, what could have gone better. We can pull out the principles that we've been talking about this far and maybe learn some new ones along the way. So that's the goal of having people on the show for this. We'll call it our Stop Hitting Yourself segment. So without further ado, let's turn on the recording and get this going. And as I turn on this recording, it's going to switch to a phone microphone, so you'll notice an immediate change in sound quality, but you should be able to still hear everything just like normal. Here goes. I'm here with Vanessa and Josh Harrop. They're going to be our honorary guests. I'm trying to think of some, very special kind of word or term that gives them their dues. For being the guinea pigs for testing out this guest interview format for us. As I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, this podcast didn't get published on Monday, which was the plan. And that happened because, probably because I'm stupid, but also because technology is not foolproof. We recorded the show Monday morning, and I went to publish it, and the audio file wouldn't open. And turns out that we had just a bad internet connection. We were using internet to facilitate the interview, and it just didn't work out. So we've been waiting to coordinate schedules, find a time when we could re-record this, and here we are, re-recording. So to dive into our stats of the week, we are up to 813 listeners this week. That's pretty good, guys. I can't wait till we break 1,000. I'm thinking with the power of Vanessa and Josh's social networks, I think we're going to hit 1,000 after this gets published. So, all right, guys, share this with everyone you know. Maybe they can learn something and interact with each other better. So that's the goal of the show. In case this is your first time listening, this show is created to give the benefits of alternative dispute resolution and the communication tools and tricks that come with it to the masses, bringing everybody the benefits of these little learnable skills that can make our interactions with each other a lot better, make it easier for us to disagree without hating each other, and improve our relationships. So that's the purpose. That's what we're doing. That's why Josh and Vanessa are here with us. So I'm going to just kind of let Vanessa now just sort of paint the picture for everybody listening. Tell us kind of where you and Josh are at in life, just kind of so we have a little bit of a backdrop as we dive into things. Is that okay if we do that?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so my name is Vanessa, obviously, and my husband is Josh. We've been married for about 3 years. We actually met through my cousin. Josh was serving an LDS mission in Spain, in Madrid, and my cousin actually told Josh to write me, and we ended up writing for 15 months and got home and just hit it off and got married pretty soon after that. I'm graduated from UVU. With a degree in communications. I'm also about 38 weeks pregnant. So we're about to have our first baby, and we're really excited about that. And yeah, Josh is going to school and working full time. So we're busy.
You are busy. And 38 weeks pregnant, boy, we could, the baby could start coming while we're doing this podcast. That's actually a possibility.
That would
sure.
be funny.
That would be a story to tell right there.
Yeah, that would
awesome.
really improve. Yeah, so I'm not going to say fake it, but like if you want to fake it, that's fine with me. All right?
That might increase listeners.
Yeah. It just adds a little element of virality to this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and also you mentioned degree in communication, so you're probably actually more of an expert on this stuff than me.
I don't think
in law
so.
school, I do think so. Law school, all they teach you about communications is like how to confuse people into agreeing with you. All right. Well, that was good. Thanks for painting that picture for us. We're going to... we always have this segment on this show, and I say always, but it's more like almost always. But there's a segment of the show that we call Stop Hitting Yourself. And this is a segment where we go through a real-life scenario, like a listener story. And traditionally, I've just been telling these stories, but now we've got who can tell themselves much better than I can. But this is our Stop Hitting Yourself segment. The reason it's called that is because we have a tendency in our relationships to kind of, we get annoyed with each other or we disagree with each other on things, and we have a tendency to push the opposite direction of resolution. Whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, we have a tendency to kind of elicit the behaviors in others that bother us. Okay, so for our Stop Hitting Yourself segment today, Vanessa and Josh are going to be telling a real-life story that's very relatable. I'm sure all of you listening are going to be like, oh my gosh, that's me, like every other week. And so I hope you'll listen to this story and realize, what lessons there are to be learned from it. So, Vanessa, go ahead. Just kind of run us through this tricky situation that you and Josh ran into, this thing you disagreed about, and we'll just dive in, okay?
Okay. All right. So, Josh and we lived in an apartment in Provo, Utah. And our apartment is relatively small. It's in a fourplex, and we do have another bedroom that we'll use as a nursery for our baby. But I started getting questions from people when I started announcing that I was pregnant. People were asking me, are you guys going to move into a different space? Or they were just kind of assuming like, oh, you guys are going to move soon, like into a bigger space, right? Because you're having a baby. And we actually weren't planning on it. And so it kind of made me wonder, should we be? Yeah. Should we be moving into a bigger space? I just kind of started being on my mind. I think I was a little bit like paranoid maybe about what people thought. And then our friends, they were kind of all moving into bigger homes. And one of our friends, she's actually a retail, what is it? real estate
Real
agent.
estate.
And she was hosting a class it's a first time home buyers class, and they're super great, and we just wanted to go and support and also like listen future, because we do want to get, we want to have real estate and have a house someday. So we went, and when we went, I got really excited about everything she was teaching, and it kind of made me feel like we could do this right now. Like we could buy a house right now. We didn't need all the money. We could just go into debt. And I got really, really excited. And during the meeting, I was taking a ton of notes, asking lots of questions. And I noticed, Josh wasn't, and he was kind of laid back, like just listening. And I think I was listening, for now, and Josh was kind of listening for the future. So we left the meeting, and when we got in the car, I'm going to
interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you really quick, because I have a question. You just said something really interesting. You said that you were listening for now, but Josh was listening for the future. How could you tell Josh was listening for the future and not for now?
I think probably
just because you know him, or
yeah.
Okay, body language for sure.
I think he could see during the class that I was like asking questions and very involved. And when he saw that, I guarantee you he was thinking, "Oh crap!" like,
oh boy.
And he probably just
this
like,
is going to be an expensive meeting.
Yeah. And I think I even looked at him once, like, "Hey, like, take some notes," like. And no. So I don't know. After we ended up leaving, and I wanted to. We had about a half-hour drive home or something like that, and I wanted to talk about, buying a house, and like, let's make this happen. Like, how could we make it happen? And I felt like it would be exciting, and maybe a way that we could potentially, get equity and just different stuff like that. So, but Josh wasn't responding really in the car. He was very didn't want to participate in like the excitement that I had, and it made me upset. And yeah.
Okay, so you mean to say that you are married and you thought differently about an idea?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. You guys probably should go to therapy for this.
That never happens, does it?
That never happens in marriage. Like we can't see things differently. Okay, this is great. This is great. So Josh, tell me. So we kind of got Vanessa's perspective. Tell me, what was going through your mind during this meeting, and were you already kind of guessing that Vanessa might have a different position on this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even before the meeting, we had talked multiple times, like, okay, well, when do we want to get into a house? Is it possible? And all this stuff. And we went, and I remember sitting there thinking, like, okay, you can put 3% down on a house or whatever, but I was sitting here thinking, like, okay, I still got about a year and a half left of school. At this point, I was just working part-time at the university, not making a whole lot of money. And we have this baby. I knew our car was too small to be able to have, fit the car seat in the back. So I was thinking, like, okay, we need to get a car. There's a couple other things that we need to look into doing before we can get a house. So I definitely think I was, and this is something Ness and I both want is to have a house, but I knew kind of at this moment in time, it just really wasn't possible for us. And I knew kind of getting into the car when we were driving home that was going to be a conversation that we were going to have. And it was a conversation that I don't think I wanted to have. Because you can see how excited she was. And the last thing I think you want to do as a husband is to be able to say, well, we can't do that, or not yet. You want to be able to provide as much as you can for the family. And it was just kind of like, ooh, it's not possible right now. But.
Yeah, it's really tough to be in a position where you want to be able to give something, but you feel like you can't, or that maybe you could, but you just maybe shouldn't. So that's how you're feeling, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so the disagreement was not over whether you guys, will get a house. I mean, it's kind of understood that will happen at some point. It's more of a question as to when. And let me tell you, timing issues are especially sensitive because there are a lot of factors that go into timing disagreements. Timing of anything, when to have kids, when to go to dinner. And there are a lot of different varying opinions about timing on things. And so, for everyone out there listening, if you are, if you're like a human who interacts with other humans, chances are timing will be an issue that comes up a lot. If you're an employer, timing will be a huge issue. And why is timing so difficult to discuss? Well, it's really difficult to discuss because people tend to feel strongly about their opinions on timing, but there are a lot of different things that influence it. So, Josh went through some of the factors that influence his perspective on the timing of this. I'm curious to hear Vanessa's thoughts on why the timing seemed like it could be right now. Were there things that made it seem like maybe now is the time?
I thought, well, Josh's was probably more logical, but I think I was just thinking, it's kind of like it's going to be hard whenever. And so,
okay, sure.
You don't have to have
you're
all
like,
the money.
it's going to be a stretch even if it's in 2 years. Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think, and I don't think I had a real grasp on, what it was really going to take to get a house right now. And so, yeah, I think I was just a little bit too hyped, like on emotion. and it took, that like a couple days later, like researching it to know that it probably just wasn't going to happen right now.
Yeah. Well, those emotions are a pretty big deal. And your emotions matter a lot to Josh. And because of that, that's kind of what created probably some of this internal tension, Josh, is that you're really wanting to be able to, I guess, go with this emotion that you're sensing from Vanessa and let that excitement build. But it's kind of hard to not do that. And Vanessa's in the opposite situation where she's trying to get, basically trying to get Josh excited about this. So we're going to go into a little bit of a diagramming exercise that kind of goes through perceptions and reactions. And you guys, if I say something that's not quite right, just interrupt and be like, oh, well, I might change that just a little bit. Okay?
Yeah.
All righty.
Okay, so we're going to start with Vanessa's perception of Josh's reaction to this idea of, well, maybe now is the right time to get a house, all right? So it seems like Vanessa was perceiving Josh as maybe a little bit overly risk adverse. Is that fair?
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, and Josh, are you just by nature overly risk? I mean, are you a pretty risk adverse guy generally, or no? I'm just curious.
I definitely think it depends on the thing, but as far as buying things and stuff like that, definitely, I would say I'm more of like
very calculated. Very
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay, and then also it seems like there might be a perception that maybe Josh might have been avoiding the conversation. So Vanessa is excited and wants to talk about it, but you kind of sense that he didn't want to talk about it. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is very much
right. Okay. All right. So how does Vanessa react to this perception that she sees? Vanessa, I'm curious, as you realized he was not really wanting to go there and feeling like, oh, he's just being overly risk adverse, did you do anything as a result? I mean, did you try to get him to talk about it or anything like that? Did you push harder?
Yeah, I think I did. I think all the way till we got home, and I don't think it was really. I don't remember it being in a super like mean way, but I just like kept trying to get him to talk about it, and it wasn't really happening. And then I think, I said something like, I'm just really, like, I'm frustrated, like, why won't you talk to me about this? Like, I'm really excited and you're not. And we got home, and Josh started cleaning the apartment a ton, which means, like, from previous experience, I know that means that he like needs a break. So I just like kind of let him do his thing.
So Josh, is this true? You went home and you started cleaning?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was pretty fun. And Vanessa nailed it right on the head. I mean, she wasn't being mean at all, and just like the way she was trying to bring up this conversation. But I'm just kind of sitting there in the car, like, please drop it. Like, I don't really want to talk about this right now. And it kind of got to the point where there was just a little bit of tension between us. And I'm definitely like my mom, where when she's mad, she just cleans. And and sometimes I think it's good in our relationship to get mad, because the house ends up just being completely deep cleaned, which is great. I think we both benefit from that. But I definitely kind of.
You're not the only one who does that. That's like a fairly common reaction to like feeling tension. It's like, I'm gonna go clean something. Okay, all right. So you cleaned. Sounds like it was a pretty good cleaning too.
Yeah, I think it's been.
Time.
She says it took a long time.
Well, at this point, I think Vanessa just kind of had enough, and she ended up getting ready for bed and got in bed. And I think it wasn't until like another half an hour, 45 minutes later, that I finally was just like, okay, I'm going to bed. And
Okay, so was there any more discussion that night then?
So Josh came and got in bed, and I think we kind of just like lay there in silence for a while. And I thought that Josh fell asleep, which made me upset, because I know that he knows that I have to have resolution before we go to sleep. I know some people like believe in, like, no, for some people it really is better to go to like sleep it off, but for me it's not. And so I texted him and I was just like,
we're 3 feet away from each other, and she texted me.
Well, I was like, the light or like his phone will wake him up or whatever, and I was just like, are you seriously sleeping right now? And he got the message or whatever, and like rolled over, and he's like, no, I'm not sleeping. And so I think that's like,
were you really not sleeping?
No, I literally remember myself just staring at the wall when the light on my phone went off, and I was like, what the? And I grabbed it, and I saw Vanessa texted me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, Josh, and just be, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to ask this question, and you can decide how honest you want to be on it. But as you were sitting there, did you know, like, could you still feel the tension a little bit?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, so did you know that Vanessa like still really wanted to talk about this as you were laying there?
Yes. Yeah. And I think by the time that I had finished cleaning and stuff like that, I was more like relaxed and willing to talk about it. And we finally laid down. We probably spent like a half an hour just talking about it and just going through like, okay, this is kind of why we can't do it now, or this is maybe why we could do it now, when we both kind of came to the understanding that it's probably better that we wait a year or something like that. And it was good. Yeah. We both fell asleep peacefully that night.
Okay. So what changed? Vanessa, what changed? How come it was suddenly easier to talk about it and get on the same page?
Well, I when Josh was cleaning, I knew that I couldn't really talk to him. And so I started feeling really bad, because I know that, and, Josh has said this before, it's like kind of a worse fear for anyone that wants to provide for like a family, to not be able to do that. And so I feel like I kind of made Josh feel bad. Like he knew that like it wasn't going to happen right now. And I think more than anything, I don't know. I started realizing like I don't want him to feel like he's a failure. Like he's working really hard right now with school and with work, and he's involved in a lot of things. And so I was just like, man, like I think I made him feel really bad. And so I started feeling bad. So when he rolled over, like I apologized and I told him like, I think this is like how I made you feel, and I'm like really sorry. So I think that kind of made it easier to be able to talk about too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, this is amazing. This is so good, and I'm so excited for everyone who's listening, because let me tell you what just happened there. There was this little bit of a stop hitting yourself moment where Vanessa's like, you're kind of avoiding this conversation. I'm going to keep pushing a little harder. And the harder I push, the more Josh is thinking like, oh, please drop this. Oh, she's still, oh, please drop this. Like, and then it got to a point where, the silent treatment was set in stone in the form of deep cleaning. And so it was just continuing to build a little bit. And then there's this beautiful moment where both Josh and Vanessa are like, hey, we're getting out of the cycle. Like we're breaking out of the cycle, and this is how it happened, right? The way you break out of this collusion is you recognize your own contribution, and that's exactly what Vanessa started to do as she's sitting there all alone waiting for Josh to come to bed. She's thinking, oh, I think I made Josh feel bad. By insisting that this happened now, it might make him feel like he's not doing a good job providing. But the truth is, I know he works super hard. And what this is Vanessa has stepped away from her own interests and from this kind of goal of, hey, I want to change Josh's mind. And she stepped into this framework of, I want to understand Josh's story. And she realized that, pulling from some previous episodes, there's an identity issue here where, a young husband who's going to school and working and doing all these things, it might be a challenge. It might be an unpleasant feeling to feel like, oh, like I'm letting down my wife, even though I'm working as hard as I can. I'm just not, I'm not good enough, or whatever it might have been. And it probably wasn't that for Josh, because he knows he's a stud deep down. But for a guy like me, that might have been the case. So it's amazing to see you guys break the cycle and to do it in a single night. A lot of marital conflicts like this, the cycle continues, and there's ongoing, eliciting of the behaviors that are bugged by in the other person. But you guys did such a good job of recognizing that, hey, this isn't quite working. We're going to see it. We're going to kind of open our eyes a little bit, try to get inside the other person's story, understand it, and go from there. And also, Vanessa, you did a good job picking out what could be a pretty serious identity complication of the conversation. And that can be hard to do, to realize how what we say might hurt somebody. It's really hard to do that, honestly. But you did, and you did a great job. So thank you so much, you guys. And I promised you I wouldn't keep you too long today. Do you have just maybe 1 second for maybe like one more question each?
Oh yeah,
totally. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. This is we're kind of done doing the story segment. This is just for fun. Can you think of a time, Josh, when you blamed Vanessa for something that wasn't completely her fault, but it's just convenient? You fell into the trap of blaming.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. So it happened. Do you want me to share the story?
Yeah, please do.
So a couple years ago during Christmas time, we were spending Christmas up with her family up in Rexburg, Idaho, and on our way up, we had to stop and get one of her parents' cars because it was at the shop. And I got in her parents' car, and she was backing out our car, and she had accidentally bumped into just another car in the parking lot. And I kind of looked at her, like, I watched it unfold. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how did you not see that car? And I kind of realized that the reason she didn't see it was because I had packed the presents and our bags and stuff up so high in the back of the car that she couldn't see out the window.
No one could see where they're going.
And
yeah, but you're like, girls can't drive. No.
I was like, girls can't drive or whatever. No, and I felt super bad because I had looked, I just gave her that look that I'm like, I blame you for that. And literally, I mean, honestly, a couple of seconds later, I realized she couldn't see out the back, so it was totally my fault. Yeah. But just for the couple seconds or that minute or whatever, I was like, what are you doing? Yeah, it was pretty funny. That is a great example.
Great example. Thanks for that, Josh.
I probably should have got
Vanessa,
out of the car. I probably should have got out of the car and like looked or moved, but you know, it kind of went both ways.
There you go. It's joint contribution. Every situation there's joint contribution. There you go. Okay, so Vanessa, tell me, thinking back on this, the house thing that we talked about a little bit, coming out of that experience, is there something that you left feeling like it was kind of a lesson learned? Was there anything that you came away with that you feel like, hey, this was important to learn? And I'm just curious if there was something that stuck out to you.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, after that, I just started thinking about where we live now and how it really is, it's going to totally work for us right now. And I stopped thinking about what other people thought, and I just said, like, there will be a time for us in the future. And it was more just like contentment, like with where we're at right now, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's contentment and gratitude.
That's huge. That's huge. Well, thanks so much for sharing your experience. I know it takes some vulnerability, but you guys did great, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of people who can resonate with your experience. So thanks for coming on the show and sharing your story so we can all learn.
Of course.
Thank you for having us. It's been fun.
All right. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thank you for listening. It's a lot of fun doing these podcasts for you. And I'm learning a lot as I go. If you have suggestions, please let me know. And also, if you have any experiences that you'd be comfortable sharing, reach out. We've got several people who've shared a lot of good stories. And it'd be fun to get more and more of you on the show, sharing your experience, let other people learn from them, and basically reinforcing these really important, very learnable skills that'll make our lives better. Thanks again for tuning in.